So this is the second time we're going to do this. This is a very unreal situation. Thanks, guys. We did an amazing filmed interview last night, and Claire, you were so funny.
Oh, thanks,
It's
Dave.
awesome. Tony, you were amazing.
Tony
Wyzenbeek.
Dave.
I wasn't,
Not so.
but it was mainly I was not so because I forgot to press record on the camera. And,
Media 101.
So we finished after 1.5 hours, 90 minutes of solid gas bagging. Gold.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I looked at the thing, and it has an image of me turning the camera off. So
it was all killer, no filler.
it was amazing. It was amazing. And anyway, we're going to attempt. And last night we'd loaded up on a few beers for you two, and I'd had a bit of herb, and we're all
chickpeas,
and it was
like.
Oh, we had a beautiful meal, and it was after a drive into the country location here, and everything was perfect. And
So where are we, Dave?
we're at an undisclosed location, and Tony's here. Tony Wyzenbeek, an old friend of ours, and he's assumed the garb of an agricultural person, he told us today. Yeah. Tony, like many adults, is a person of many roles and selves and personas, but to live here in this community, he's having to be a little bit agricultural.
Yeah, trying to pretend I'm a farmer.
We went for a nice drive in the countryside today to get us in the mood, I guess, staring at cows and wondering what breeds they were.
Yeah.
Whether they were cows or not. And
Or alpaca.
what they do, what they think of us, all that kind of stuff that city people do out here. But anyway, it's Dave Graney, Tony Wyzenbeek, and Clare Moore, and we're here to have, in this unreal situation, take two of a unreal situation, talking into a camera about being friends and shared experiences and places we've been, and locating it in Melbourne, I guess, and elsewhere. And I think I started yesterday. It was so good, such a good start. I thought, telling you, Tony, that Claire and I arrived as very sophisticated Adelaide people into Melbourne in about 1980, or Claire is unsure of that. I think it was 1980. And we were in a band, and we came over here with our whole band. It was myself and Claire and Steve Miller, three of us who would later be in the Moodists
So
within
what was
a year or so. I'm
not
not going to talk about that, Tony.
Come on, Dave.
It was the name our
Graney
guitarist
knows.
Phil Costello thought up, and it was the Sputniks. And
that wasn't too hard, was it?
It wasn't too hard. As the years have gone by, I have been able to mention the name. And on bass, we had the late Les Dealey, who passed away last year, who was a great kind of fiery young woman rocker, and Ronnie Williams with us too. But Tony, I thought the most interesting thing you might find as a Melbourneite was that our entry into Melbourne and a place to live altogether was in a caravan park. Was it two caravans or one?
I think it was two caravans.
Two caravans.
Yeah, how could you fit into
Too
one
many of
caravan?
us.
Well,
One
the
caravan.
Beatles would have been in one caravan, but it was in the suburb of Moorabbin, which we all knew later on. Together was the home of the St Kilda Football Club. And it was right near a gin factory, Claire.
Behind the gin factory, yeah, where IKEA became a shop later, and then got pulled down. But yeah, the gin factory, actually, you could smell the gin being made.
Wow.
There was a tower with,
Was it chimney,
with
was it?
gin written on it, or chimney, yeah.
Was it Gilby's?
Gilby's, that's it. Gilby's,
It was
yeah.
anyway. It was harsh, Tony. Melbourne
But
was a harsh place.
The caravan park, most of the caravans were permanent residents.
Yeah.
So they had gardens around their caravans. It wasn't too bad, right?
Yes.
There was not
So-
too much public transport out there
No,
that way.
it was harsh. I think one of us, Steve Miller, might have had a car. Did he have a Holden then, or we drove over anyway? It might have been a Falcon, a 60s Falcon. Anyway, we were there for a while, and we were just like primitive sea creatures clinging on to life on the outskirts of the island of Melbourne.
Did you find Melbourne a bit daunting?
Yeah.
Well, we came here because we'd seen the Boys Next Door play several times in Melbourne, and they were very, it was very kind of glamorous, kind of great band, and we'd seen bands from Sydney as well, and other groups from Adelaide. You either went to Sydney or Melbourne. We chose Melbourne.
So why didn't you choose Sydney, Dave?
Well, there's a band called Young Modern who went there, who were really great kind of what would be like a power pop band, like, the Flamin' Groovies or something, but very unique. And John Dowler still plays music today. They played all the time in Adelaide as much as they could, and it's open for everybody. They went to Sydney, and famously they were in a booking agent with another Adelaide band, the Angels, and maybe Cold Chisel. And the audiences just yelled at them and told them to play faster because they're a bunch of, effete. They're not rockers, so it killed them. So we thought, we don't want to go to Sydney.
Sydney was tough. It was the industry, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Melbourne had less of that. But we weren't aware of the divide with the Yarra, how you weren't supposed to go
Inside Melbourne.
north. Yeah, when
Yeah.
you're in Melbourne, we weren't kind of all
Yeah,
that aware
the
of that.
north-south
We really
divide.
liked Skyhooks, and we knew they were kind of all from around Carlton.
Carlton.
We
Yeah.
thought Carlton was still groovy, but that was an older generation, really. And the people we wanted to hang with all didn't leave St Kilda, actually. It wasn't even a north-south of the river thing. It was just
Some
we stayed
people still don't.
Which one?
Some people still don't.
Yeah, I know.
Get to that
exactly.
later, Dave.
It was full on, wasn't it?
And the gigs we played in first were tiny places like the Exford, which is right in Chinatown on the corner of Russell Street and Little Burke Street. And
That looks exactly the same.
I still
Yeah.
can't believe bands played in there. And there's a legendary story we heard later on of the Boys Next Door playing there. Must have been a very early gig of theirs, 79 or something. And someone from the Talking Heads came along to see them. And it would have been like a cargo cult situation, like a person from overseas here to see us, let's impress them. And Tracy Pugh, so the story goes, turned up with some sort of Nazi regalia on and a penis
Right.
stuck onto his nose. And I think it was Jerry Harrison of Talking Heads, couldn't understand this, or wasn't, didn't warm to this. But
Isn't the story Tom Waits was drinking there when he was supposed to be
really,
performing at the Dallas Brooks Hall?
I never heard that one.
Yeah, he was like an hour late for the concert. Kept everyone waiting.
Another great lost Melbourne venue, Dallas Brooks Hall.
Yeah.
But after we moved out of Moorabbin, if I could set the scene, we moved to a suburb of Elstonwick, which was a share house, and it was a beautiful kind of stone house in a quiet street. And it was my first discovery of how terrifically boring Melbourne suburbs could be. And it still has a lot of that, very boring. And people go on about Melbourne being exciting and groovy and all that, but it's the boredom that created all the...
Did you ever drink at the Elstonwick Hotel?
Sort of drove past it. That always had a big thing of Molly Meldrum DJing there because it was right near the
Not
studio.
Les Toth.
It's right near where, of course, you knew later on where the across the highway is where Countdown was filmed, and directly at the other side of the road, the other landmark was the Daily Planet
I was going to say,
brothel.
that was pretty happening joint.
Yeah, on Horn Street,
Horn
Elstonwick.
Street, Shane Walsh always wanted to get a job there as a towel boy.
Okay.
I'd heard about that place through an album of I think Taste or Cloud9, who on their album Nights of Love, Knights of Love, they had a song called Elstonwick Flesh Pit.
Because that's not about the ABC.
I think it's
then.
not.
Oh,
It could be about either.
Yeah.
Kind of on the casting couch of
Maxine
Countdown.
McHugh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, but you lived in the suburbs further out, Tony.
Yeah, I grew up in the outer suburbs of Melbourne in a place called Ferntree Gully, and at the foothills of the Dandenongs. Lower Gully I was in, which is sort of like just was mainly sprout farms and blackberries and
It's kind of
orchards and stuff.
it's 40 kilometres out Toorak Road.
Yeah, Burwood Highway, or Ferntree Gully Road, and it's Burwood Highway. And yeah, it wasn't bad until you got to your kind of teenage years, and it got a bit territorial. There was lots of Sharpies, and I was a Sharpie, but I was
A lone
Sharpie.
wolf.
I was purely in it for
Yeah.
the aesthetics.
You were like that, the dude Omar in The Wire.
I don't know.
He was a lone killer.
Yeah. Used to do a lot of running from people.
Did you get the train? You were brave
Yeah,
enough
if you
to
went
get
to
the
like Croydon and that, and you'd come across, other Sharpies that would chase you down the street, and the Blackburn Sharps, which I got into an altercation at Flynn Street Station one night.
I can't
after
believe-
an AC/DC concert.
I can't believe still that Blackburn Sharps were scary because Blackburn is such a nice place.
Yeah. I used to play football against Blackburn, and they were pretty heavy dudes to play against. So, yeah.
different demographic nowadays.
Yeah.
These suburbs are on the Belgrave line leading out to where Claire and I have lived for the last 3 decades. And we call these suburbs often the Badlands. Croydon, Bayswater, Ringwood, and not so much Laburnum. That's a mysterious kind of
Yeah, the
void
train
on
train
line.
never stops at Laburnum
Yeah, or no one gets off or on.
or Burnley.
Yes.
Burnley.
Yeah.
Now you moved out of Ferntree Gully into the inner city. You were going to one of those educational institutions that a lot of creative young people came out of. They seem to exist briefly. There was the one you went to. There was the one we heard about most was Swinburne,
Yeah.
which was film and television. So
Yeah.
many people came
Well, it's
out
at
of it.
Rusden. It was a teachers' college, and it was the period of Whitlam and free education, free tertiary education. So it was just like you'd walk into a dark room, there'd be 5, grades of photographic paper that you could just print out all day, or make films, with 400, 1,600 feet of 16mm film. It was all free. It was
Wow.
just like, and then towards the end of my rather extended period there, the razor cuts came in, and luckily I escaped the tertiary fees, but otherwise, probably would have been working in a factory in Bayswater or something. It was only that with the education was free that you could go there. There was no HECS or anything.
It is amazing what the effect of free education did for a generation
Yeah.
in Australia. Where were you living when you were going to?
Well-
Where was Rusden?
Well, it was on Blackburn Road in near Monash University in Glen Waverley.
Glen Waverley's where Tracy Pugh came from, Chris Walsh from the Moodists, and Mick Harvey came from Ashburton,
Yeah.
nearby, and Roland Howard from Nunawading.
Victor Van Butte.
Victor Van Butte.
Shindle.
Boring Melbourne suburbs.
Yeah. There were a few, like scattered in those suburbs were a few bloodhouses, like the Matthew Flinders was in
God.
Hotels,
Ashburton,
yeah. Large hotels.
the Village Green, the Burvale, and they're all kind of suburban bloodhouses that if you looked any different, you were kind of taking your life into your own hands, drinking
Did you ever
there.
go to the upper gully or
The
middle?
Royal?
Or the middle?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
the
that's
middle had bands,
yeah,
didn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I saw Cold Chisel there and New Year's Eve and
Jesus.
Matt Taylor. Saw those band, what was it, Dorian Gray. Do you remember
Really?
that?
They played
there.
Surely they got beaten up.
Surely.
I don't think they went down that well.
Yeah.
We were so scared to have to go. We saw that
Yeah.
as our future, and that's why we got on a plane to England.
Yeah.
We just thought we will die
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Fantry Gully. So, or
Yeah, it was right in the middle of that sort of band, pub culture kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think the middle now is a
All you can eat.
pokey joint, isn't it?
That's all you can eat.
Well, it's called the Hacienda Tavern. It was sort of decked out
Was it?
like a Spanish mission kind of architecture and that.
It's-
But yeah, the
yeah.
bouncers there. I had a friend who was sort of like he was preoccupied with putting all the bouncers in that area into retirement.
Oh God.
So
Shit.
I got thrown through the smorgasbord sign at the Royal Hotel once trying to help him. I was kind of a frustrated lover, not a fighter. But yeah, it was pretty airy.
I went around the side of the Fantry Gully Hotel recently. We parked there, and I was looking at this hole in the wall, thinking, "What's that? Why is it so high up?" And I realised it was for trucks with band equipment to back in and load straight into the stage.
Yeah.
Like they have this big sort of doorway that's right up there though. I thought, wow, that should be a heritage register or something.
And then from there, I lived in Belgrave and worked on Puff and Billy and just kind of took a year off college at Rusden.
Were you driving Puffing Billy?
No, we were just clearing the tracks and basically smoking a lot of pot.
Puffing Billy's a steam train
Yeah.
tourist train in around beatific parts of the hills in Melbourne.
It's a big tourist attraction.
Yeah.
It's been going for years. But then I moved down to Hartwell with college mate Bruce Kane. I think we talked about him
We
yesterday.
talked so well about this yesterday.
I can't remember what I said.
Was Bruce from the gully too?
No, he was from North Ringwood.
Oh, okay. That
So
might
he
be
understood
similar.
the suburbs, the outer suburbs,
North Ringwood.
just like I did.
When
but he used to go to the Barrel Bar at the Croydon Hotel.
Christ.
Yeah.
When Claire and I moved out of inner city Melbourne to the hills about 30 years ago, people like you and Bruce Kane would look at us quizzically as, why the fuck are you going there?
Are you mad?
But you would know landmarks we could refer to like Litza Pizza or Wobby's World, etc.
Yeah. And
so Bruce was at the Rusden as well.
yeah, he was at Rusden. We met we were both doing drama. We met on our orientation camp on French Island.
Well, from fighting with bouncers at Belgrave to doing drama at Rusden.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I always wanted to kind of be an actor, but didn't really have the skin for it, really. The knockbacks, constant knockbacks.
You mean a thick skin to take
Do auditions or
to take rejection?
Yeah. And, just working with prima donnas and stuff like that. Anyway,
And then I wanted to hear about the house or the space you lived in Chapel Street in Prahran on the corner of
that was
High Street and Chapel Street,
Yeah. Bruce and I moved from Hartwell, which was basically converted. It was they had a second-hand shop there. and we used to sell stuff. And when that closed down or we were evicted, I can't remember. But we moved into the corner of Chapel and High Street on above a Russian furniture shop called Ravenolt's, and they sell bed heads like with speakers and cassette decks in the middle of them, and things, and really rude kind of over ornate kind of mirrors and furniture.
Like Franco Cozzo, sort of.
Yeah.
Straight out of the Playboy manual for seduction, I think.
Shit.
Yeah.
Right,
And
mirrors.
we used to have to sneak past him because the rent was it was ridiculously cheap. And in those days you could kind of get the doll without too much of it.
It was great. It was an arts grant.
Yeah. So, and like literally there was a Duke of Windsor over the road. So a lot of our time was basically spent at the Duke, and to get back to the cubby hut, you'd have to sneak past Nick Ravenot, the landlord, who'd be standing at the door, and you're like 2 months behind with the rent.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
How are you, Nick? And he'd say, the kids are starving. And he ended up dying. He had mesothelioma because he used to work the mines, asbestos mines, and he was one of the first landmark cases. But you could only get access to the cubby hut from the street, and it was like a wooden enclosed stairwell up to our little abode, which just had one little lounge room with a window that pointed out to the roof of the Singaporean restaurant next door, where you would just get all the fumes from the stoves, the garlic prawns wafting through the window while we were trying starving on the fucking 4-day-old lentil stew.
Oh.
Must have been very exciting, though. Dramatic.
Well, it was just heaps happening, and you could just walk up Chapel Street, up Windsor, and, there was always something that was a little bit hairy when you walk down to Fitzroy Street, usually on a Thursday or Friday, and do the, walk between the ballroom and the Prince of Wales on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
Chapel Street, though, that I just thought, I remember that Lisa Gerard, who was in Dead Can Dance and then has a great, career as film soundtrack composer, I think her family had a restaurant or a shop around that area, and just up the road was Greville Street, and it was in a little way, Greville Street was related to Carlton in that kind of world with the
they
station
had the
hotel
Feedwell
there.
Cafe, and that guy who used to do the little snake cartoons.
Oh yeah,
For the Herald Sun.
Jolliffe. Or was it?
Yeah, I can't remember, but he had a studio there, and Rennie Ellis had a studio on the corner, just next to Greville Records.
There was an ABC documentary for GDK. I think you let me see once. It was on VHS about Greville Street in the 70s.
Yeah.
With the station hotel, and it had interviews with Mark Barnes, who ran the gigs there, and might have been David Pepperell, as Greville Records was there later. But it looked like a country town. It had an old digger walking along the street and a stray dog. And
the crossing was also the old-fashioned.
It was a beautiful train stop there.
And they had Leggett's there where you used to go you could go and play tennis out the back. They're all apartments now.
That was a 1940s dance hall that Howard Freeman's family ran, and then it became venue IDs and then the Continental.
Yeah.
But Claire and I, after we lived in Elston, we moved to the Prahran area, and we lived around Thomas Street, which was near Prahran College, which was another kind of, I don't know, it wasn't bohemian, but an art school kind of hotbed of activity.
Yeah. Yeah, they had lots of artists. Did John Campbell go to Prahran?
I'm not sure.
We used to see him around.
He was still in a van then. He was in that
The King
van.
Jerkleys.
Yeah. And I remember us having a joint party there, myself and Grant McLennan, and because it was a double-story terrace house that we lived in, and there was a party there because they were all pathetic kind of, new wave rock and roll people out kicking the football. Can you imagine how pathetic that was? And, like Sean Kelly from the Models. And,
Oh, really?
it was the most pathetic kick to kick.
What, Grant? Was he kicking the football?
Grant wouldn't have been kicking.
Oh,
He would have
okay.
been somewhere reading a Virago modern classic, trying to impress a young woman or something. And it was a funny area. This is around 1982, and that was the area, that was the time living there, Claire, that these two desperados from Adelaide were visiting someone in the house, and then in the share house, and then you were home late one night because you were holding down a day job, and you were home by yourself, and then there was a knock at the door.
That's right. And it was the cops. They initially were asking for you, Dave.
Oh.
Yeah. And then, and
They just asked for Dave. It wasn't, it's very
They didn't really
common
know who
name.
you were.
No,
Dave
no.
the common. That's right.
Is Dave there?
Is Dave there? Yeah. Which, anyway. I won't say it.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, it was terrifying. And then they just busted the door in and all ran through the house and just ripped out everybody's rooms, I think, and just chucked shit everywhere.
Did they find anything?
Well, I can't really say what happened because they might come and kill me. No, I
But
shouldn't
he
have said
was,
that either.
he was like a mod squad, drug
He was
squad.
a bit like
type.
Mod
Yeah,
Squad guy,
yeah.
He was laying
In civilian
on my
clothes.
bed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, kind of interviewing me, and I was just like, what the fuck just happened? And I just want to get up and go to work tomorrow. I work at the tax department.
Yeah.
Did he have a mo? Like, did they all
Yeah,
have
it was
mows
like
in those days?
hipster jeans and some big belt and cowboy boots. I remember the big cowboy boots. Anyway, I think it was a case of mistaken identity and a whole sort of these people.
It was all a mistake.
It was like a cartoon, really. It was silly that they picked on us.
Yeah.
And were you performing at this stage?
Yeah, we were in our band, The Moodists, and it was funny. Chapel Street could be quite violent, and you mentioned the Blue Scooters before. No, Dorian Gray. We went to see a gig of them down Chapel Street around Commercial Road sometime in 1982. Phil Calvert was playing drums with them after the birthday party, I think.
Right.
I think, and it was... it might have been the Marching Girls as well, because Johnny Volume and Des were there. And we were sitting in a group watching them, but then the other people in the pub had just surrounded us, behind us, and at a signal just started punching into us. And it was like all of us ended up in hospital. It was it was a grim kind of night.
Your tooth came through your bottom chin.
Yeah,
You
got
can still
a
see.
good punch or kick here, and it came through my lip, and that was what that was like, and anyway, that was what the world was like.
That was the wrong part.
When you're young.
You got to experience a good beating once in your life.
I'd rather not.
Well, there was more fights in Adelaide, though.
Yes.
I mean, shit, you have them every week in Adelaide at the Marrickville Hotel. You always end up
Yeah, I
at
got
ED.
beat up at Gully Rock, which was like a precursor to the blue light discos they used to have out there.
Really?
And we got beaten up by the Bayside Shark. No, he was from Upway, actually.
The Upway Sharps.
The Upway
on
Sharps.
No,
there.
he's just a lone guy. I think he might have been
The Upway Sharp.
I don't even think he was a shark, but yeah.
But weren't the cops there if it was like a blue light disco thing?
Yeah, no,
the
it was,
place?
well, the hall was always dark. And
Shit.
yeah, I was talking to some Sharpie girl and,
Wow.
he
Chatting up a
got a bit
Sharpie.
jealous. and
Wow.
He pushed me and I pushed him back, and then that was all I remember. Next minute, I was picking myself up off the floor.
Oh dear.
Did you ever get stranded in Melbourne?
I got
after the
stranded
last
in
train?
St Kilda after we had a school excursion to go and see Jesus Christ Superstar at the Palais.
Wow.
And me and a mate we went upstairs just to have a look around and look at the roof and that, and then we got downstairs and the school bus had gone back to the Furniture Gully, and we were walking around St Kilda at like 12 o'clock at night.
Shit.
Teachers didn't even know. I was just
They
like,
didn't
they
count
do it.
anyone.
No. So we had to. The cops ended up giving us a lift to Nuttawading, and one of our parents kind of picked us up from there. That was my first introduction to St Kilda.
What about the time?
That was where the cop station used to be, where McDonald's is.
Oh yes, I remember that. Yeah,
was it
around
on
there.
It's in that. It's on the end of
Ackland Street.
the Esplanade.
yeah, right.
They used to have
Yeah.
boats there as well. I think
Yeah.
the sea police
Yeah, I
were there.
remember that.
And there used to be, it's in that Daddy Cool clip, there used to be a takeaway shop there as well, I think, from memory.
And what about the time you got arrested and thrown in the tank? When was that?
I think, I'd moved to Beaconsfield Parade. I was living in a bed sit and been working all week as like a labourer on a building site, and got to the pub Friday night, eager for a drink, and someone had stolen, the story goes, someone had stolen a police revolver, and next minute a riot van had pulled up with 12 cops lined up out the front, and they closed the pub down. It was like 8 o'clock at night, and I was quite annoyed because I was just into my first beer. And so I went down the steps, everyone's coming out, and I turned my back on the cops and went, evacuate the premises, evacuate now. Next minute they carted me off into the riot van, and, just giving the thumbs up to the crowd, a few cheers, and then they locked a friend of ours, Nick Denny, up as well, because he queried why they were locking me up, and so I spent a night in the drunk tank at the St Kilda police station.
Jesus.
And did Bruce Kane try to use his influence?
He did, yeah. He
He
was chatting up his now wife of 35 years or whatever. He was chatting her up. What's their first introduction, and I knew Judy, and I could hear Bruce outside the riot van going, "Oh, don't worry, Judy, I'll handle this. My father's a policeman now. We'll sort this out. Oh, where are you taking him? Are you all right in there, Tony?" And the cop said, "Oh, we're taking him to South Melbourne." And so Bruce goes, "Oh, Tony, we'll meet you at South Melbourne Station." And of course, the cops didn't go to South Melbourne at all. They went to St Kilda Station instead. But
which was just down the road.
that gave Bruce plenty of time to make his moves.
Bruce Kane, who was a drummer in a group that was very social, centre to our social scene, and they were the Dave Laston, the legendary Boy Kings. And Claire and I had first met Dave when he was bass player for the Plays with Marionettes, who also had our future piano player in the Coral Snakes, Robin Casaneda, in them, and lots of them kind of friends for life, and led by Hugo Race, and he was like a enfant terrible kind of playwright at 19 or something, and kind of just had the whole future in front of him. But then Lucky was not one of them in a way. He was a different kind of character, and
he grew up in Glen Waverley too, didn't he?
I think so. And
Mount Waverley,
and he had either American father or mother, and he had different kind of background.
How did they meet then? That mob.
I don't know. He told us he got called up. He was friends with either Frank Trobiani through art school or something. The drummer.
He had a very handsome, good mate that passed away.
Yeah,
I
yes.
forget his name.
They were in
He
a
was very
band.
tall
It
and-
was they were in a trio together, an offshoot called Tall, Dark, and Handsome. Jim Shug from the Feral Dinosaurs was tall, and that fella's name was Dark. Mark Francisoff was Dark. He was a
Right.
hairdresser, and Steve Miller was Handsome, and Lucky was And he was the shortest, and he was playing the double bass. But that was a short-lived group because unfortunately, Mark did pass away. Yeah, and but anyway, Lucky eventually was in the Boy. He had his band, the Boy Kings. When Claire and I came back from 5 years in the UK, in say the end of '88, it was like reconnecting with people we'd known in Melbourne, and they were that mad crew of people like Bruce and Swampy, Shane Walsh, and Conway Savage, who weren't in that first wave of Melbourne, punk people, who all seemed to be just one group of friends. These were other people, Malcolm Hill from Geelong, and they were more our friends. Jim White and people with chairs up their noses, David Palliser and Jim Shug. And,
Well, I got introduced to Conway, and I think that's how I met you guys. Because Bruce grew up in the country for a while with Conway, and so yeah, that's how I sort of through Conway got introduced to you guys, and we'd go to Amanda Fox's place, and she'd have barbecues there with. I think Nick Cave would be there, and Tracy and Chris Walsh, and
up in Barclay
these guys
Street.
just look so fucking cool, and yeah, it was all a bit intimidating, but kind of exciting at the same time.
But the Boy Kings were quite an incredible group, and
Yeah.
it was Dave Last on vocals, Manny, Mr. International on guitar, Bruce Kane on drums, Conway Savage on piano, on that strange piano he had,
That weird upright.
kind of acoustic electric, and Shane Walsh on
Bass.
bass. Sometimes they'd have a sax player in, but there were lots of sax players around in the 80s, and none of them could play very well.
Yeah, Nick Denny used to
Nick used to play?
Nick used to get on the saxophone.
I think Nick and Dave
with the
Palliser.
feral dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they played on our first Moodus record.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
all 80s people wanted to have sax because it looked cool, but hardly any of them except for Louise Elliott could actually play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
hard.
we on our Moodus EP, Engine Shudder, David Palliser played, and Tony Cohen's trying to vary speed the tape to get it to hit the same tune as the song. But Nick Danny played on it as well, and he did have actually a good honking tone to it. He played more like an R&B guy. But the Boy Kings were, it's hard to explain to anybody who didn't see them how I don't know, mad they were.
It was very
It
exciting.
wasn't related to other things. And,
And their songwriting, Dave, as you
because I really admire them because they escaped without ever recording anything. Maybe one song on a compilation, but I think it's great that they existed. And
In our minds.
They did
they're
record.
only in myth,
In
more
myth,
than
that's
myth.
right.
Than anything.
They did record, but none of them were willing to pay for the master tapes, and that would be a great documentary. The
Yes.
Boy Kings, the lost
Right.
tapes.
Did it
Find
get,
the lost
like,
tapes.
Did someone reuse the tapes or something?
Someone just had it and said, "Like, you're not getting it
So they're in
unless you pay
someone's,
me."
attic.
Archive,
Yeah, and Conway's passed away, and Shane's passed away, and there's Lucky. And it'd have to be Lucky or Bruce or Manny to give a fuck about it. But
Find them.
I remember the songs they would play there. They had an amazing song called Ouija Board, where Lucky and the boys would contact Elvis via the Ouija board, and he gave them messages like mainly that Lucky, you're the king of rock and roll now, and
Elvis was king, but you're the greatest of all.
keep your hands off of Lisa Marie. And then they had Do You Want to Fuck or Fight with your breasts are pointing at me like angry missiles, and and I'm just going to Nimbin to kick a hippie's ass, and it was just so much fun. They do cover versions and everything, and
Yeah.
but you were talking about that appear like at that pub right in the middle of the city, and it was Hosie's or
Hosie's on the corner of Elizabeth and Flinders Street. It's got that great mural on the side. On the side. And he'd come out of the elevator up on the first floor on the back of a Harley Davidson.
onto the stage.
Yeah, onto the stage.
Fit in an elevator?
Yeah.
And his
Oh,
hair
got
would
it
be
in.
a foot high for
Yeah.
the first couple of songs.
He's always kind of doing acrobatics and
Yeah.
injuring himself. And
Always just a little bit kind of out of shape,
Yeah.
carrying a bit of weight and stuffed into tight clothes.
yeah.
But a just absolutely riveting performer. And,
Yeah, and he did that great cover of Patches.
Your Patches, yeah. O.C. Smith's Patches, I think, where a tender song about your mother being a prostitute and the path being deep and wide with
Hang
footsteps
on.
leading
That's
to
a
our cabin.
different song,
Is it?
Dave.
All the path was
Yeah,
deep
yeah.
and wide.
That's Hickory
Oh, no.
Hollis Tramp.
Hickory Hollis Tramp. Patches was, Patches, I'm depending on you, son,
Yeah.
to pull this family through. Yeah, another heartbreaker.
Yeah.
I wonder- The mother must have died in
Yeah.
that song
Oh.
or something.
And he did the Elvis classic
Edge of Reality? No.
Edge of, Unchained Melody.
Oh,
Unchained.
if they had enough reverb, he would do.
Yeah,
They would
That's
get
a
him to
really
do
hard
that.
song to sing, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
And they devised a way for Shane Swampy Walsh not to get too much opportunity to drink during the gig, so they'd have these segues between songs that they would try and play like the Unknown Comic type stuff. Da, 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 da. But Shane worked out a way to just play it with the open string while he had his.
And they'd play like Inflation and then they'd play some fucking weird joint out in the country or whatever.
Yeah, I remember them talking about a gig out in the bush because they would have through Conway and that they would still have friends out towards Western Victoria and that. And they told me a story that I never forgot, and I put it in this song of ours. I Ain't Got No Float, which is a song about not having any kind of financial backing from a rich family or whatever. And they played a gig, and the guy said, "Come back to my place. Let's have a few beers." And they went back to his place, but they ended up sitting in the darkness in a paddock and with this guy who'd lit a fire, and they had a few beers and rolling joints, and he said, talking about where each room was going to be, yeah, that would be the kitchen over there. Yeah, I'm going to put a lounge room here, and the band were not happy, and they're looking at Lucky, like, what the fuck have you brought us to?
And did you ever hang at any of those kind of groovy nightclubs like the Hardware Club, Dave? Did you?
We were shit at nightclub.
might have went
hanging out
there.
at.
Yeah, I tried to get
We
in
went
there.
to Razor a bit, but
The only way I could get into the Hardware Club was to climb up the drain pipes
oh, not
and get
again!
in.
You love doing that, Tony.
One night I took Jim White with me from the Dirties,
Yeah.
and literally we were up 2 flights, and I'd gotten in, and I had Jim literally hanging by his arms.
Jesus.
Like, I think about it now and going, you fucking idiot.
Wow,
Like,
what a night out.
then you get in the toilet window, and then I think it was even the ladies' toilet, and you could go down the stairs and into the nightclub because I didn't have that kind of blitz look.
Right, yeah.
Oh, you had the wrong look. They wouldn't let you in.
But
Jesus.
the hardware
Didn't
lane
like
was
those
right.
groovers.
It was right in the centre of Melbourne, and Melbourne had nobody living in it then. It was dead. It was empty at 9 to 5. It was full of people. Then it was empty. Nobody lived there until the late 90s, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and there were clubs like Swelter and Subterrane
There was the
and the Anglers Club, Razor.
yeah.
The
There
Anglers
was
Club.
a Razor Club was around the golf course around. By
Yeah, Albert Park.
Yeah. And once again, I used to have to sneak in
Razor.
into
Wow.
razor.
Oh, no.
Until I met Slatko, who was he was studying film at Swinburne, and he was going out with a friend of ours, Jenny Reese, and Zlatko, he was quite a big guy, gentle giant, but he was security at Razor, so
he let you in.
he'd let me in.
Fantastic.
You didn't pick a fight with him.
No, but I did a shirt fronting in a social football game at Peanut Farm.
Right. Wow.
And
Are you mad?
literally did a helicopter spin off him.
Wow.
It was,
Were you using your skills from the Rusden dramatic class in the dance?
well,
stuff?
yeah, we didn't talk. We talked about that. Yes, I did modern dance. I did a major in media and drama and a year of modern dance.
Drop some names. Martha Graham.
Martha Graham,
Yeah, wow.
Merce Cunningham.
Wow. Any
But
Bob,
the problem was
any
you'd
Bob
have
Fosse.
no Bob Fosse,
No
no
Bob
jazz ballet. But the problem was we used to have drama in the morning, and my dance class wasn't till 11, and my dance class wasn't till 3 in the afternoon. So
Wow.
I'd go up to the Notting Hill for
Oh,
3
that
hours
was
with Bruce, and
so hard.
back at class trying to do plies and releves and that, and you're just like stumbling and that. And you either had your tights on or your footy shorts on, one or the other.
Back in